Happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday beading class, and glad to see you guys. I missed you this week. Today we have a really fun class. It is, I named it Mixtape because it uses every new mix from this summer's new bead launches. So it's just a gorgeous combination that turns into this beautiful rainbow. And so I just decided, hey, it's Mixtape because it looks like, tape. So I don't know, it was kind of fun. And the stitch is a very, very popular, much loved stitch. It's one that we have done before a different version of, but this is a different spin on it that uses just mostly 11-0 in the little globe part. And so the previous version mixed up 8-0 with some other interest beads and things like that. And we had a bunch of, beads spaced in between. So that one was really popular. Everyone really liked it. Everyone was posting over and over again things that they made. So I thought, well, let's bring that back and do that with all these new mixes, because these are new colors we didn't have back then, right? So that's where the inspiration was for creating this piece. And it ended up being a necklace because we have so many new mixes on the wall. And these are, some of them are brand new mixes that were just, new designs that we came up with, and I got to help out with these, so it was really fun for me. And then some of them were requests for, hey, you have this in 6-0, can you give it to us in 11-0? And so that's where the inspiration for a lot of these mixes came from. So in fact, a lot of these mixes are available in both 8-0 and 6-0 in a few cases. So let me know if you have questions about that as we're going through class. Hey, is this available in this or that size? I kind of have the encyclopedia in my head now at this point. I can answer on the spot. So yeah, here on the mat, what I've got is a bunch of the, the necklace itself and then a bunch of stuff. So I used, of course, a bunch of different mixes for this. So they're all just kind of shown here. And if you're wondering what each of these mixes were, I did put that all in the handout. So you can see, and I did that in order of how I strung them. And each one is sitting next to its corresponding size 8-0. So here's what I did. Because of the way these were constructed, you have to make multiple passes through the beads that sit in the middle of these little circles. And so that was better performed by an 8-0 seed bead. You don't see it when you finish stitching it all up. It just looks like all 11-0, right? But inside is actually some 8-0 for what we call the core beads. And so in the handout, what that looks like are these right here. So every time you do one of these little arms, you're going to be going back through those same beads over and over again. So it's nice that they're 8-0, and you'll be making about, including the initial pass through, 7 passes in total. So that's a lot of passes through the same beads. And so for that reason, you want to work with something like more like the 0.006 Wildfire. You can also use something like a 4-pound or a 6-pound. I would caution going up any bigger, like into the 8-pound or 0.08 ranges, because that's going to get a little thick. It's probably still work, but it'll just be a little tight. And so, yeah, in the case of what beads should I use, I would say just go for any beads that you like, any colors you like, any combos you like, and then just go ahead and select an 8-0 seed bead that you think looks really good, either complements or in some cases is a color that's in the mix. So that's what I did in the case of this little segment right here, which is the Hawaii mix. You'll recognize that as the Hawaii mix that we used to only have in 8-0. Well, now you have it here as an 11-0 mix, and it has a little bit of these little silver lined. Can you see the little silver line clear? So that's the color I decided to pull out. But you could also go with, you could pull out a hematite. You could pull out the pink. There's this fuchsia color. I believe all of these might be available. And then here's one of my favorites in more of an earth tone feeling. This is the Rusty and Blues mix. This one was really popular. Everyone really loves this one. And it has it's kind of like a copper lined black diamond color in there, which is one of my favorite Czech colors. It's so really cool. The whole line of copper line makes quite an appearance in the 11-0 mixes, and it's one of my favorite. I guess it's not really a finish because it's a lining, but it's a really cool effect. And so I just pulled out this one. This is root beer, and just combined that because I thought that was pretty close. So that's this one right here. And there's just a bracelet length for showing how to finish. I just wanted to have something that wasn't done yet that I could show you finishing on. So there's that one. I'm just gonna dive in and start a brand new one to show start to finish how we make it. Okay, and these were the colors we thought would be really good for the camera today, or just kind of diving in before and looking. So that's gonna look like this when we're done. These little pretties. Okay, so I did work with frost throughout most of my necklace. In fact, I think I used frost through the whole thing. I'll use this color today so you can see a little better what I'm working with. And as far as how much to cut, so depending what you're making, you're probably going to need to add thread unless it's a bracelet. For a bracelet, a wingspan will get you this length here with a lot of extra. I think I did a wingspan and maybe some 10 inches plus that. So this was probably, I started with about 70 inches and I already got this much done. That's, let me show you. A little under 7. So with the clasp, it's going to be 7 inches. So a wingspan will do it. If you're going to just make a bracelet, you know, maybe a wingspan plus about 10 inches or so to do your finishing. But if you're doing a necklace, you're going to need to add thread probably more than once. I think I did that 3 times when I was making the necklace, and I was working with full wingspans. In that case, probably 65, 70 inches or so. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here for this, cutting about that much. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a really quick trick to flatten the end with chain nose pliers. So you just want to flatten the end of the thread so that it goes like that, and then just get a size 11 beading needle. It should thread really easily for you. You did the little flattening step, and then fold over a lot because we're working with some pretty long strands here. And let me get my beads out. And I always end up having to refill, so just put out a comfortable amount and you can refill it as you go. And then some 8-0. And again, this is just a crystal silver lined. Okay, so I did a stop bead to begin, and I want my stop bead to stand out as different because sometimes I forget it's there when I go to put my clasp on. So get a different color and just have one little stop bead ready. You only need it just to hold the beads on the end so they don't come flying off. And then leave about a 10 to 15 inch tail to do your clasp with. And then just come back through that bead and pull tight. And so what you'll get is a little bead that'll sit at the end and just keeps your first beads from rolling off. So I'm going to start with 6 of my mixed beads, and I randomly strung these guys. I don't know if you want to do a pattern or not, but I didn't because I think I would have just forgotten my pattern as I was going. It was much more enjoyable just to do random selection. So I just picked up 6 beads there, and that makes the spacing about a 1/2 inch, and that looked good to my eye. So that's what that count came from. Each of these is spaced by just, once you get the globes on there, it consumes a little bit of it, but roughly 1/2 inch apart. But you can add longer or you can make it shorter, and more beads will space out the little beads more, and then less will make them closer together. So whatever look you're going for, you can achieve. But I did 6, and so here's my first set of core beads. So I'm just going to string on 3 size 8. Slide that down to meet the other beads here. And then just so it's easy to remember, I just have 6 more beads. And those were a really good, you know, shape and size wise to make a little arc next to those size 8 seed beads. 611 to 380 looked really good. It makes the perfect kind of little globe shape. Slide that down, and your beads will be sitting just like that. So what you want to do next is bring your needle back through just the size 8 beads. You want to come out just through those. Just by themselves. and pull this through till you get a loop that's, you know, just about like that. And right before you tighten that loop, especially on this first one, just hold this part right here and tighten everything down. Tighten it really good and then pull. And it'll pop right on the side there. And I moved my stop bead a little bit by accident. So everything will still move on you here. If for some reason you feel like you wanted to slide it around, you can. But after you put on the next spiral arm, after you put on the next set of 6 beads, you won't be able to close this gap here unless you go back through it. So that you want to preserve this as best you can. And I'm going to show a couple more tricks for how to do that as you get going. And so I'm going to put 6 more beads on here. So there's my next 6 beads, slide those down. And so just making sure I still have the connection between these and this one's still pretty tight. I don't want to loosen that up. I just want to go very gently through these beads here. And then just pinch it in your fingers to hold everything tight and take a look at it. Now, if for some reason, adding that second set of spiral arms created a gap for you here, you can fix that by just taking that one you just added, which is still loose, and just loosen it up a little bit and pull on this part, and it'll help you tighten that again. But you want to make sure that stays tight. Now, after this, you don't have to worry about it. It's just that first add for some reason. The second little arm will lock it in. And what I like to do is I fold everything to my left. So I start moving each new arm that I make. I move it over to my left side and just kind of hold it. And I'll pick up my next arm. And then just go back through those same 3 size 8 seed beads. And we're always heading up away from our stop bead. So there's that one. And once again, I'm just gonna push it over. So half of our globe is done. And we're just gonna do that 3 more times. I'm just being super random, just picking up 6 beads, going back through these 3. There's that. And just push it over. Let's do 2 more. And it does go super fast. I was seeing in the chat that this, once you get it, you can make these really quickly. It doesn't take too long. And it's really easy to see where you left off. If you have to put it down and come back, you just count the number you've got. And so in my case, this didn't loosen here. What happened is I've been sliding the stop bead down just by accident. That'll only happen on your first one. And my last one is making sure it doesn't overlap with any of the others. And there you go. And it's so cool. It just makes this little pom-pom. It looks really cute, especially in a big grouping of them. And so we're going to make the next little spacing. So just pick up 6 more. And so I've got those on there. See, we've got the count right. So I should have that. And 3 more, size 8. And then 6 more for our second arm bead, or first arm bead, sorry. So got those, string those down, and back up through those 3 8s. So this is just a really fun way to use up those beads. And so there's that. And you know what I did with this one, because it's 11-0, I carried on without doing a reinforcing step. There is a way you can do a reinforcing step, and working with heavier beads, I might do it, but Wildfire doesn't stretch. And I've noticed that the gap that you get between, you know, the globes and the little spacing beads, it's not noticeable, even without doing the reinforcing step. So what I thought about doing was just carrying on through my entire design. And then if I have thread at the end, this kind of happens sometimes when you're adding thread a lot, maybe go back down through the whole thing one more time with another strand of Wildfire. So I did build this one without going back through after every single ad. Does that make sense? And in case anyone's wondering, what do you mean by going back through it? Well, there is one way you can reinforce it right here if you want to. I do this sometimes if I'm adding like gemstones or something because it gets heavy, but you go back down through the spiral arm. I'm just going to show it one time just in case anyone likes it or feels like they need it or wants to do something different. So back through that. Then you want to go back through all of those 6 beads that are used as the little spacer. It's a little tricky to get through them because I used a nice tight hand here. There we go. Okay, so I got through all 6 of those. I'll just carry on through those. And I want to show you just in the handout really quick what I'm about to do. So above every one of these that you create, you have thread bridges now, which is handy because you can use them to turn. So I just came back down through my joining beads there. I'm just going to go under one of those. And it doesn't matter which one, just choose one. Let's see if I can find. I just got under that one. And I just want to make sure I don't bring a bead up. There we go. So make sure you're just going under the thread and not bringing any beads up from the arm. And then all you got to do is just head all the way back up through the 6 beads that join and the 3 above. So those right there. And that step is, again, it's handy for heavier designs. These little 11-0, they're so light that I really didn't feel like I needed to do it. And I did not do that throughout this necklace over here. And it was all fine. It just, there's no spacing. I mean, you take a look at it. Here it is in the same color. Not seeing any gaps. I've actually worn this twice too, and there's still no gaps. So I think that step is handy to know in case you need it, but you don't need to do it every time. It's just something you can do if you feel like it, really. Maybe do it if you're not using Wildfire. Do that if you're using a stretchy thread. Because things like the size B and size D nylon, that trick is handy for that kind of thread. Because that will stretch on you. So here's our next little loop. And again, just pushing it to the left. And going back through those 3/8 there. There's our next one. And they look so cute. I love the way that looks. The one, it looks kind of just like you're making like an orange segment or something. Yes. I do try to get the count to be the same for every arm. It's forgiving, but it will change the shape of your little bead if the counts are different. So there's 4. And we just need one more. Oops. It's hard to hold on to. Keeps jumping out. I think it gets easier once you've got at least 3 of these little sections going to hold on to it. And so you could do 7 arms if you wanted to. I just kind of thought that looked symmetrical there, but there's space for one more if you wanted to do that. And either way is going to look cool, but there's, you know, a couple ways you could change it and make it look like a little fuller. I thought that looked good anyway. So how's everyone feeling about this stitch? I can do one more loop, and then if you have questions, jump in. I'm going to just do one more little section.
It's interesting. Hi, Danielle. Just want to let you know all is good in the sidebar. Pat, who we all love, is a little bit late, so she'd love it if you did one more. And it'll be sort of everyone's last chance to see how it's really done, so they can work on it this weekend.
Yeah, and we're doing great on time, so we can always, you know, switch colors or something. But I just finished one of the beads, and so I'm back to step 1, which is how you start it, which is you start with 6 beads. And these beads end up being your space between each of the little globes or little dots, or lots of different things you could call them. But to me, they look like pom-poms. So there's the 6 there. And now here's our 3 core beads, which are going to be size 8 seed beads. Let me get those next. And then we need to string on the first arm. So that's 6 more beads here. And slide that down. And then go through those 3 size 8 beads that we just strung. You're just going to go back through them. You just want to get through those. And what I do on this first one is right before I close this loop up, I'll pull right on the top and make sure this part is tight. And then pull this part. Just to make that nice and snug. And then I push it to my left and just hold it. You get 6 more beads. And then come up through those 3 again. So there's 2. And then again, I'm just pushing that to the left. And grab another one. 2. And they're jumping off. There's 3, 4. There's those. There's 6 beads there. And I'm just being careful not to disturb the nice tight tension I got going. So it's okay to go slow on that part. And getting back through those 3 size 8 seed beads, hold tight. And make sure I don't bring my tail with me. So they should just pop just like that. And then I've just been pushing them to the left and holding that whole little segment there and get another set. There's 6 more. Back up through those 3. And pushing it to the left. All right, and so I think I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna do one more. So right through those center, keeping everything to the left there, and then just bring that one up. So I've been putting just 6 arms on. And so that looks pretty symmetrical, but as you can see, there's room for 7. If you want to do 7, you can. I was experimenting with both, and I thought this one looked a little less crowded, especially once it starts to move and hang. But I think there is room for 7 around that core. So that's really just whatever you like, whatever you think looks good. You can try both and see what you like. But those are made with just 6 arms going around the core. And then one cool thing about that, it's not as apparent on this one because we just went with the clear silver line, but if you're using a really neat accent color, which I recommend trying, and I kind of wish I thought of it when I was doing this one, but for example, you will notice these, if you just do 6 beads around, you'll be able to see the color of size 8 inside. And if you played with that and maybe did a contrasting color, like what if you did gray with like a hot pink 8-0 inside or something like that? I mean, that would give it a really cool look. Here's one where you can kind of see that it's all white beads inside there. So they peek out and they put a different color inside. And somebody way back in the day when we did this last time had the coolest idea of putting the glow in the dark seed bead inside, but that was just something that somebody mentioned. But you could just put any beads that glow. Like I feel like in the 8-0 world, we have some really bright pinks that would really pop in here. Like let me grab this one. Wouldn't that be cool? In there, it would just pop, and you could put that inside of like a gray one. Like, what about that? And you see what you can do is you can just go crazy and come up with so many ideas, and I think that would look really cool. Actually, I need to do that. So play with that and see what you like. And that's one argument for doing just the 6 arms instead of 7 is you could get a more of a peekaboo view of the little 8-0s in there. You can see them kind of poking out. Does anyone have any questions for me about the basic stitch? So, you know, so this part, doing the spiral arms.
Danielle,
Oh, yeah.
the basic stitch is great.
Great, okay. And I saw someone mention the Terra Intensives. Yeah, that would be cool. The Terra Intensives are so beautiful. Those are sitting behind me too. That would be a gorgeous combo. So if once you've got your design to the length that you'd like it, and you know, actually before I go on to that, I have a feeling someone will have a question about adding thread. Maybe we should do that first, because that will come up if you're doing the necklace. So this one, I have plenty of thread left, but let's pretend I don't. You know, let's say I ran out like right here. What I'd recommend doing is leaving your old working thread in place. Let's just trim it. Switch thread when you've got at least 7 inches left, because you will want to weave that in. So leave about 7 inches. And then take your new strand and weave the new strand in from underneath one of the previous little globes you've got. Maybe just come up through those 8-0 that's in there. So through these 8-0. And then loop around one of the spiral arms. Or they're not really spiral, sorry, just regular arms. So I went through 3, going through the next 3. And I'm just gonna go back up through those 8-0. So I just made a little circle. And so my tail is still moving. See how I can pull that and it'll move a little bit. I know I need to do that a few more times. If you do that 3 times, it'll lock it in. And you can do that, you know, through a few here, through a few here, just come up through the rest of these and go through. And then go through all those. It gets pretty tight after even just going through, looping through twice. Let me show you. Go through one more here. I know I missed one. Or did I? No, I'm good. Okay, time to go through the 8 out. So we'll just turn and come back through all those. All right, and so see the tail here. Let's watch this one. When I pull up here and see if it moves. It's already pretty tight. I'm really pulling on that too. So even just 2 going around will lock that in pretty well for you. So then you just come along and trim this. I know I would do it 3 just for good measure, but 2 is probably fine. And I'm just gonna push down, pull up. I made that a little short. There we go. Let's see if that disappeared. If it didn't, you can come back along with some flush cutters and get that a little tighter, but it looks like for me it popped right back in because I gave it some tension. So yeah, so now I have my new strand and my old strand is still hanging out here. What I would do is create a whole nother set of segments, probably 2 more segments with my new thread. And then just put a needle onto this tail and bring it up into those new segments, loop around 1 time, loop around, and then trim it after that. It's 2 or 3 times. And another thing you can do, I don't really recommend doing this unless you're 110% sure you don't have to go back through that core bead, but you could take these 2 and knot them. I'm not going to do it because if I do that, I won't be able to get back through those beads. And just in case I want to go back through one more time at the end, when I'm putting my clasp on, I occasionally feel like doing that if I have extra thread. Why not use it? You know, head back through the core and make it extra strong. So before I tie any knots, I kind of would just weave in. It's easy to do the little loops around, and they're just as strong because I mean, look how strong this is. Literally can't pull it. So yeah, and that was only twice, right? So that's all you gotta do. That's all there is to it. Adding threads super easy. Only took a second. And if you're doing the full necklace, like I was saying earlier, this one I did 4 repeats of every color, and that ended up me needing 3 thread adds. So 3 times about 70 inches or so. I don't really measure it. I just wingspan it and then throw an extra few inches on for clasping. So about 3 wingspans in total is what I did for that. And, you know, it worked out really good. So let's finish up this one. And it's really easy to finish these. They don't really need a lot, you know, because they're kind of dainty. I feel like if you wanted to put a very heavy clasp on it, it might overpower it. So I just went with a lobster claw. But I think anything would work. And I'm going to use either gold, or on bracelets, I like to use a little bigger one. On the necklaces, I went with a little smaller. Let's see what I did on this one. I think on the necklace, what did I do on the necklace? On the necklace, I went with a silver one. So that's probably sterling silver there. I think I was making it a little extra special. But let's do, I feel like gold goes with this color really nicely. Let's see it really close up. Yeah, that looks really nice. I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, anything you want, just something that matches your style. And so this is super easy. I did end with 6 beads. I ended with another segment, and then just string on our clasp and go back through those beads. And then I'm going to continue. I'm going to go through the 3 core beads in here. And down through here, down through the next 6 beads. So just for this one, I went through all those. And then I just need to tighten it. I've got a little bit more thread left than I was expecting for that. All right. So that looks good there. Now what I'm going to do is use the thread bridges to turn. Remember we were doing this earlier? And you can do this anywhere, over any of your little globes. Just go underneath one thread bridge. Oops, wrong one. There we go. This might be tricky to see. Let me see if I can make it easy to see. So you see how there's all these little arms? I'm just gonna pick one. And I'm really just trying to pick up the thread. There we go. Kind of see what I'm doing there. It's really small, but you can see the reflection there on the needle. I've just got one little strand of thread there. I grab that. And then I'm going to head back up. Just go all the way through. Maybe you can get through in one swoop, maybe not. I'm going to see if I can. Yeah, there we go. If it's getting tight, which it might, just use your pliers. All right. I'm going to reinforce that. Let's go through the clasp one more time. And back down through those 6 there. I actually only reinforced it twice. You could do 3 if you want. And this time I'm just going to go through these 6 right here. And I'm going to use these to turn. And I think I actually got under a thread bridge there, did I? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to tell. Let me see. And so I'm going to make a decision that this is really tight. I don't think I'm going to head back up that way again. I could try to get through one more time. Another suggestion I could make is if you're having the trouble that I'm having with some of the beads, let me share one little tip. I was working with this mix here. This mix has these, do you see these metallic coated? These guys are tighter than some of the other beads. For example, the pass through on a bead like that, you'll get extra passes than you will on one of these. They just have an extra coating. So the good news is they break less. They're stronger. But the bad news is the passes are tighter. So because I use that color, I'm thinking 2 passes through this nice strong Wildfire is fine. I did 3, I probably on this other one, meaning from here, I would have picked up the thread bridge, gone up one more time, gone through the lobster claw, back down through all the 6, and then I would just go into the work and start weaving in. And so that is what I did over here, but I ended with more generous bead sizes there. See, these guys are all color lined or clear. They don't have that extra metallic coating. So something to think about. One really easy way to get around it is you can just end with 8-0, which would be fine to do. And so making those last beads here in 8-0 seed bead will give you an extra security that you can get through it more than once or more than 3 times. Because in this case was our 3rd pass through it. Let's just go ahead and weave in though. Let's go ahead and go down through all these. Actually, I'm just going to go through these 3. So I just went through the 3 core beads and I'm just going to use an arm, one of these first arms to weave in. I got through 4. Here's the other 2. And then just head right back down to those 3 core beads. If I can get through the rest, I will. Yeah, pretty good. Okay. Perfect. I just want to make sure I don't break a bead. There we go. And it's okay to go slow, especially if you're not sure. So here, see that bead there? That's my problem bead. I'm going to be really gentle with it. I'm just going to not insist, but yeah. And it made it. Okay. So I'm out of the tight zone. Let's head down here to do our weaving in, because that area is just, it's got too much stuff going on. And one of the things I wanted to share also is if you feel like you want to, I was mentioning this a couple of times earlier, that you can just keep going. Why not? I mean, if you got the thread, which I do, I've got a lot of leftover thread, you can just keep going through the whole thing. And it'll make it stronger. And that's another way if you feel like you had any gaps. The other thing I can say about seed beads and thread, and I know Meredith has mentioned this a couple times, it's a really great advice for all types of stringing materials and seed beads, is when you put the thickest thread you can through them, as hard as it is to, you know, to get them to fit and everything, look how sharp that looks. See how they don't kind of like, when you look down here, the way they kind of bend against each other. Maybe show you over here. They're not in a totally straight line. But look at this. Totally straight line like that. And that just pops to me, and that makes it look really, really polished and finished, and it makes it hang with just a little more strength. It looks a little stronger to me. So I'm going to go all the way back through mine. I'm going to keep going all the way to the end with this strand. And then when I get there, I'll turn around again. But down here, we got to remember to take off our stop bead. And let's put on the clasp on this end. Oh, another thing you can do is meet in the middle. So for example, I've got this strand coming down. I bet you I did this on the necklace. It's all coming back to me, but I've got this strand coming down, right? And I'll get as far as I can. And then with this one, I'll come back up that way. And wherever we meet and cross, that's where I'll trim it. So let me grab one more needle. I need actually, I'm going to borrow this one over here from my other design. And how are we doing on time? We're good on time. Okay. And flatten this side. Okay, so I got that. And I grabbed some chain because I'm making a bracelet. Now on the necklace, I just did jump ring, which was super, super easy. Just went through a jump ring. But I want to have an adjustable finish on this one. So I'm just going to get some of this nice claspable chain. And just take off one end of it. So let's see. Do about, I want to make it adjustable up to an inch. So let's go that. Let's cut this one here. Okay. And so I've got this little chain here. You can embellish the end, have all kinds of fun doing that. And so we've got the stop bead removed, and we just got those 6 beads going on here. And I'm going to do myself a huge favor really quick. Take these beads off. And I'm going to show you the other idea that I had. We could do 3 or 4 size 8. And let's just see how it looks. See if we like it. It does change the look a bit. So if you don't like that, I'm going to be selective with this next, and I'm going to not use any of the copper coated ones just for this end, just for the end part, even though those are my favorite. So we'll grab color lined. And so let's see if we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right, go through the chain. And let's head back through those. And I'm continuing that journey all the way down. So I went through the core beads, those. On the first one, I usually go through the whole first one. It's because it's easier for me to make that little tight connect like that. And now I'll use a thread bridge on this one. There we go. And then get under that one. And let's go right back up. Let's see. All right, made it through that one pretty easy. Yeah, that's saving my life right there. Just to show you, if you're in the Rusty and Blues mix or one of the ones that has coated ones, these ones you're gonna get less passes through. So use those for the beautiful arms. If they're gonna need more than one pass, just kind of select for those. And go through this way. All right, and so from here, I would just pick up a thread bridge, go back through, and you guys get the idea. So how are we doing? We're doing good for time, but I wanted to have time for questions. And then if anyone wants to see the next couple of weeks stuff we have coming, is really cool. And did I just miss a good comment? I think I just missed a good comment. Let's see. From here, I'll grab the thread bridge. And actually, I feel like that's strong enough. That's all I did on the other side, so I'll do the same thing here. There we go. If it's just not going through, it's probably because I'm hitting thread. So I'm just gonna go slow. There we go. All right, does anyone have any questions for me about that? What I'm gonna do here is bring my two to cross through the middle and trim them. And that's just optional. You could trim them after weaving in by just going through, catching an arm, go down through the next one, catch an arm, go down, just trim it. But that's really all you got to do.
Danielle, did you have any advice for someone who doesn't want to add any findings to the longer necklace so that it's just globe to globe?
Yeah, easy. Just stitch right through and weave in. So like for example, with this one right here, it's a little short, but if we wanted to finish it like that, I would add the next. Actually, in this case, don't add 6 on this side, right? Because we'll use these. I'll take off my stop bead. And then just bring the strand, just go through from here to there and start weaving in. And then take the tail side, go through that side and weave in on that side. That's all you got to do. And you'd have a little linked completely around. It would look like this over here. So yeah, in the case of this one, if I wanted to do that, I just wouldn't finish at the end with an additional 6. So I just go straight into that one. And the same thing we did when we were adding thread, you just do that same thing again, just to link them together. That'd be really cute. Saves you adding a binding too. This one was actually, yeah, this one could fit over my head. And so I really didn't even need to do a finding. I kind of wish I'd thought of that. Yeah, that's something to think about. You'll definitely need it on a bracelet, of course, but another thing you can do is make an earring, and a lot of folks were doing that. When we did that super, super fun class a while back, people were putting like lampwork beads on the bottom. So you'd suspend it from an ear wire and attach that ear wire the same way, that we did our clasp, and then maybe do 3 globes and then a bead at the bottom, or a charm, or any kind of link you want. You could put connectors and all kinds of cool things you can do. Yeah, that's really cool. And if you want to add a bead, the really easy way to put a bead on is, where we did this connection here. You just add a big bead somewhere in here. Maybe create a convention of 1, 2, 3, big bead, 1, 2, 3. Make one of these stitched things, 3, big bead, 3, and then you do that again. That's one way we were doing it before. And it came out really cool. It looks really neat. And it's a stash buster. You can use anything in your stash, all right? Mother's Day gift. Yeah, Marguerite says it's perfect Mother's Day gift. And last week, we did gift boxes. So perfect timing if you're looking for a way to present. We did those really, really pretty designer gift boxes. This is already on the website. You can go to Michael's YouTube and you can see it there, how we did these really pretty little gift boxes with crystals. Yeah, and so we got about 6 minutes. Carmi, should I show next week?
Danielle, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's some great stuff coming.
Great stuff coming. Yeah, and if there's any more questions, please just feel free to throw them my way. Okay, so next week we have kind of interesting. I came up with this one playing around with these little cube beads. And so there's a bracelet and there's a necklace. And this is really neat. It's like I called it Bronze Age because it just has that very like antique, like, ancient heirloom looking feel to it. And what these are, let me show you really quick. Those are these beads, and you can find these on the strand wall. They're 2-hole, like kind of like a Czech tile. And these are a Czech bead. And they're very beautiful. The finish is so cool. And what I did, I got super inspired by the colors, is I just took the colors from the bead and matched it. So these are Miyuki 80, 11, and I matched the brown with the blue. And then I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, there's so much metallic feeling going on here. And I saw these and I was like, hang on, this is cool. So this one uses the copper from that. See the little bead there at the bottom? So that's next week, but save these. When you make it with this strand, hang on to these, because I have something to show you here in a second. I always try to do this. If I tell you to pick up something and we don't use a lot of it, it'll get used in another class. So these are going to be used extensively in the earrings class that we have coming up. But before that, so we go from this one to, I believe after that one is this one. It's a scallop stitch. So if you haven't already been in store or checked out online the Czech Permalux, Permalux is gorgeous, guys. It's a beautiful, beautiful combos. I just can't get enough of them. They're so pretty. I even went crazy and put them on the chain. I'm so in love with these beads. Anyway, this is brick stitch, believe it or not, but it's a really weird variation. In it's basically you just increase, decrease, and just keep alternating that. That's the gist of it. But I'll show you step by step how this was made, and then you can make this in a bunch of colors. I just thought this one looked like sunshine, the way it just kind of glowed all the way up. And so yeah, so that's those two. And then I'm going to take off my earrings. And remember, I promised we would use these metallics. More Permalux. And here's my purple. Here's my pinks. So this one's using the gold. This one's using the hematite. And this one's using the silver from that strand. So maybe grab a bunch of these because you'll love them. You will be able to get one earring is one strand. Or sorry, you can make both, the whole pair with one of these. I calculated it out and it's down to the bead. So, and that's if you're using the same finding. If just to be safe, you want to grab two, make sure you have enough, but for the most part, I was able to get 3 pairs of earrings just out of that. And that was really cool. And so the colors that I used, just to show you one of them, it's gonna pop those on the mat. Actually, I went with, there's 2 pinks. I went with this one. So just to give you an idea of just how cool these permalux colors really are. They just pop. They're just like the brightest thing. So you can make yourself a match too. I didn't do this and I should have, but you could match whatever color you do for the scallop bracelet with the colors you use for the earrings the next week. So those will come together really nice. And I'm excited about that one. I can't wait to show you guys that one. And then I just finished up something completely different. I'm gonna shove this over, but I made these little, because there's a whole, I don't know if you've seen the Delicas, but there's a bunch of new Delica colors. And we have brown now, and we have more greens, and we have all kinds of different blues and pinks. And so, you notice the little extra sparkle on them? I glued some sparkle to his feathers, and I glued eyes, and then just made a little earring. But I was having too much fun and going a little crazy, so I made a little alligator. And then I also made a fox. So here's a sleepy red fox. And I made him have like a crystal tail, but you don't have to do that. You can always just do something different. I gave him blue eyes. So we'll have fun with this. That's another class we have coming up. The amount of Delicas on the wall is astounding. So you literally have the entire like selection you need to do almost everything, single design you can think of. So that to give you an idea. So these are the neons here. And then everything, all 3 rows up, but that's all Delicas, every color imaginable. So if you're somebody who does patterns, now you have options. Like you can do all of your stitch designs, and there will be a color that will work for you in every pattern. So I'm going to be using those a lot because I love Delicas. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got done for now. I'll probably do some more this weekend, and if I do, I will share anything that I make. I'm going to finish up the 2 designs I started today in class, and I'll share those as well. So I'll finish up our this one, and I'll finish up our Rusty and Blues one, and I'll post that one. Yeah, and so if there's no more questions from me, I just want to wish you guys a great weekend and have a happy beading, and have a really great next week, and we'll see you next Friday. All right, have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Friday. Bye.